All right, and what came as quite a surprise yesterday, the Supreme Court stated, and this was by passing an interim order, that no banks are to classify defaulting accounts as NPA that were not already classified before August 31st. Now, it's not the announcement alone, it's also the timing of this announcement, which is a bit odd, because the Supreme Court was actually supposed to hear about the interest waiver case. And that is basically whether interest on the moratorium loans would be waived off or not. When this was first proposed a while ago, senior bankers like Mr. Uday Kotak himself came forward and said how impractical a thought it was, as the loss to the banking sector would range into the lakhs of crores and essentially potentially threaten the capital base of a lot of the private and PSU banks. So it was not a welcome suggestion. And with that being said, while the idea of moratorium is to provide relief to struggling borrowers in that who might not currently be able to meet their debt obligations because they may have lost a job or they may have had a salary cut, it is not supposed to completely waive off the interest, because that goes against the very fundamental principle of lending out money, right? You can't give out free financing. So that's what the banks are arguing. Now, when this waiver case was supposed to be heard and a judgment was supposed to be heard, what we instead got from the Supreme Court is that there'll be no further NPA classification. So you've ended the moratorium, which means that banks now have to start classifying non-performing accounts as non-performing. That was the purpose of moratorium, right? We got an interest holiday, we don't have to pay interest for a few months, and then the banks don't have to recognize anything on their asset quality, which is why over the Q1 review, all we kept on hearing from the brokerages was, you can't look at asset quality in Q1 because nothing's being declared. There's no slippages, everything is on hold because of the moratorium. When the moratorium lifts at the end of August, that is when banks will for the first time have to declare what is defaulting in their loan book. Now from this judgment, banks don't have to do that anymore. Banks have been told, no, don't worry, if it's not been classified as NPA till August 31st, which basically means all the moratorium loans, because all the moratorium loans weren't classified as NPA till August 31st, you don't have to declare them as NPA now. So, you can view this on two ways. One way is that banks, and this is all from brokerage views, by the way, banks won't have to recognize or really won't see much slippages in the coming quarter because there's once again been a deferment of recognition into Q3 and Q4. On the flip side, the more bearish or cautious person might sit back and think, hey, why are they now extending the recognition? Is there a serious NPA problem? So this is all speculation. But one thing I can tell you is, since this announcement came out and the loan recast announcement came out, people are looking at Bank Nifty in a very different light. Just all of last week and the week before, we heard Bank Nifty outperforming Nifty. SBI was rallying, 300 rupee targets came on that. ICICI went back to 410. Kotak rallied. Axis rallied. IndusInd was on circuit. Now that seems to have cooled off to a fair degree. So obviously there's now once again, as we don't have clarity, it's very opaque. We simply have to trust what the banks are going to tell us. Investors might be a little more cautious while looking at the sector. Brokerages definitely are.